gonna switch it up.
I'm about to add something too.
The question is, how important is sex to you in a relationship?
A lot.
Oh my God. No.
I'm telling you right now, it's important. Don't say it's not.
Okay, and to add on to that.
Go ahead, Queen.
Sex before marriage.
Oh, yeah, I was about to ask
what
that.
is going on before you get married?
I'm gonna say that is my preference because
You said is your preference?
it is my preference. I'm gonna take it a step further. If the sex isn't good,
no.
It don't work.
It's not gonna work. And I'm not about to be wifing somebody that doesn't have good sex game.
Really?
Come on, sex is important.
So you
Not
wouldn't
doing
ever
it.
like wait at all, like before
Wait,
you actually get married?
I would go to counseling and wait. Like, I would have a period where we're not having sex. Definitely.
No, you can't have that.
No, that's seriously no.
No, can't stop. If I want it, I need to have it.
Oh my gosh. He's a little freak. And actually, Courtney was the same. In an ideal world, you should wait.
You want to wait. You have the intentions of waiting.
Wanna
If
wait.
there's a slip up happens or whatever, you know, you got.
A slip up? How do you slip up? He could pray for whatever he wants to, baby. He better pray that he has sex with me before marriage. That's all I'm saying. I'm not waiting. I'm not waiting. I consider myself a sexual person.
Right.
So, I mean, sex is important to me. It's a part of intimacy. It's a part of, bonding with your partner.
See, what's interesting to me about that is, like I say, that's on OWN, if y'all don't know about that show. And, but again, before we get started, I'm just, like I said, we need to be real. Y'all don't BS, because 97%, of Christians have sex before they get married. Okay, so, don't be sitting around here, bull crapping. I want y'all to be real about it. How do you feel about it? What you think about it? And let's just talk through this thing. So let's go. And no, that particular show is not a Christian show. Chuck, that show is on OWN, so they're everything but a Christian show. But we talk every once in a while about this subject. So I thought it would be interesting to talk about it tonight. So come on, Rashonda, you are the first person up.
I actually have not been watching the show, but I think it's definitely an important conversation to have. I feel like people should go, like once you have made it to a certain point in a relationship, to have an open, honest conversation about realistic expectations. I do feel like in my current dating situation, as soon as you tell somebody, well, I'm waiting may not necessarily mean it's a marriage, but I'm not looking to have sex on the first 5, 15 dates. They automatically write you off, but yet they say they're looking for somebody with character or a quality. But as soon as you say, hey, I'm not willing to give my body to you, it's a problem. Like the girl made a mention with the curly hair is that, the sex isn't good, you're taking off. And it's just like, you've probably had so many sexual partners that you know what you like and what you don't like, and you prefer not to have to explain that to somebody. You want somebody who can just come in and do it, and when they can't do it, you leave because you don't want to do the hard work of having that conversation. But at the same time, too, you're allowing all those other experiences that you have to ruin the experience that you have with a partner who may actually be your future husband or that person for you, if all that makes sense.
No, it was good. That makes sense. Now, come on now. I know y'all ain't, you see, y'all getting all shy today, and y'all know y'all are the #1 talkers when it comes to this kind of stuff. So let me give y'all some more info while we sitting around trying to figure out. Tawana got her hand up, so I'm gonna see if I can plug in and get some more of y'all to raise y'all's hand. Okay, so a lot of women, because like I said, we take statistics and stuff like that. So a lot of Christian women, a lot of, people, period, they're like, if I can get into a relationship, I'll be okay with it. Or maybe if I'm a fiance or whatever. And then even with that, we talked about in this group that sometimes people are saying, well, I'm not going to have sex, but, I'll do things. And we're going to keep it clean, so y'all know what y'all doing. Okay, so again, okay, what does that really mean? How do y'all feel about it? don't be shy, because, there's no condemnation here. There's nothing where we are, trying to put somebody out. You can always say, my friend, well, this is what my friend did. You ain't got to say it's you. Come on, Tawan.
Okay, so we know biblically that you're supposed to wait, and that's what you should be doing. But I do agree with the other lady that when you tell a guy that you're waiting, they instantly, a lot of them, I'm not going to say all, because I've met guys who've agreed to wait, or they'll act like they're waiting to see if you're really being truthful about that. And then they'll test you to see if you're really going to be true about your convictions, right? And then once they realize that, then they are going to go. To me, it's a good weeding out process, because then you get a chance to know whether the guy really wants to get to know me or my vagina. You should be getting to know the person. People are sleeping around with multiple people. And then what ends up happening is you really, not only is it biblically wrong, but also then you compare those people to all the other people that you slept with. And then they can't compare to those other people that you slept with. So you're never going to be satisfied. And I just think it's just a slippery slope. But I do think that as a Christian, you should strive to do the right thing. I do believe that there are Christians that, yes, people do fall, people are human, but I do think that ultimately, and everybody has to make the decision for themselves. If that's what you choose to do, that's fine. But I do think that as women, because we lead with our hearts and we're emotional, that sometimes it's also a protection, because when you give your body to somebody in that intimate setting and we're receivers, then that person's part, that they're leaving something residue. And then those characteristics, those spirits, you pick those up. And also as women, we become very emotional. So you're doing yourself a disservice when you're just giving your body to people. I think that should be reserved for your husband and somebody who's going to value you, and that's it.
Okay, well, that's what's up. Thank you so much for that. I want to just, I might have got rid of you, Lakeisha. You had your hand up, right, Lakeisha?
I did have my hand up, and I saw
Go
someone
ahead.
else.
I'm sorry. I meant
No,
to.
it's okay. I was gonna let somebody else
Get
talk.
Tawan to go down, but go ahead.
But you called on me anyway. So
Oh, okay.
for me, honestly, that was my reason for leaving my last relationship, was because I looked at my why. My why is for me to serve God. It is nothing else, right? And so my relationship was no longer honoring God because we did not originally enter our relationship in that way. So when I became saved, when I became serious about my Christianity, and he wasn't ready. He was still on the fence. We did the wishy-washy thing for forever, but then I decided that wasn't what I wanted to do anymore. So I'm not gonna enter into another relationship because that was one of the reasons why I left my past relationship. I could have stayed with the other dude if that's the case and still dishonor God. But as a Christian, I made that choice because of the fact that my relationship and everything that I do, I want to make sure that I'm honoring God. For one, the relationship, like the sister said, the relationship that I feel that God is going to give me will be one that my husband will honor me and he will respect me. Then when I tell him no, then when I tell him, my parameters, that I'm not willing to do this, if he's not the one, then that's how I weed it out. As well as you have to have boundaries. There's certain things that I'm not going to do because as an adult, no, I've not been in an adult relationship where I have not had sex. I'm just being honest with you. So this is going to be new for me too, right? So we're just going to have to make sure that there's certain things that we're not doing. But the end goal is, am I trying to please God? Or am I trying to please this man? I'm trying to please God at the end of the day. And the relationship doesn't please God, he got to go.
Okay, that's what's up. Some people done dropped their hands. Okay, Kristen, I see your hand back up. Go ahead.
Hey, good evening. Something a lot like you said, Jay, because I'm a church girl, so I grew up like wait till marriage. But I think like we're not always educated why you should wait till marriage, because there are, the people I've mentioned, there are those soul ties, there are those boundaries you need to create. So I had that my whole life. Oh yeah, I'm gonna wait till I get married. And then of course, like you said, you get into a relationship and you're like, well, you've been together for a long time, it's okay. And you have those moments or whatever. But I think it's important that if you do decide to wait, which is important, creating those boundaries, because like you cannot sustain yourself now while you're just dating. What makes you think you can sustain yourself when the temptation comes when you do get married? Because just because you get married and you have a ring on your finger and you say I do, don't mean a woman's not gonna come after you. Don't mean a man's not gonna come after you. So how can you be able to sustain yourself when you get married if you can't even sustain yourself now. Is it hard? Of course it's hard. It's very, very hard, especially when you love and care about somebody. You want to share that love and that intimacy. But I do believe God is faithful, that, you know, he can handle everything. And, you know, if you decide to wait, like, he's gonna be able to make sure the bedroom is good when you get married. If you decide to wait for a year or two, however long it does take you to get married. But I think it's just important to definitely create those boundaries, make sure you're, you know, communicative with your partner, and do what you do. Because again, God is faithful. You decide to wait, like, he's gonna make sure it's popping on in the bedroom, period. Like,
Okay, well, that's what's up. Thank you, thank you. Okay, come on, Miss Miriam. You gotta unmute though. You gotta unmute. You gotta unmute.
I'm sorry. Can you
Okay,
all
we
hear
can
me?
hear you now. We can hear you now. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to say that from listening to you all, it's so good to have other females out there that are practicing being celibate. Me personally, I was in a 14-year relationship with someone, and I've been celibate over 5.5 years, a little bit over 5.5 years. And there was 2 guys that appeared to look like God, act like God, but that approached me out. I was out and about with my grandson. And the first thing I'd like to let guys know is that I'm waiting until I get married to have sex, because I'm a God-fearing woman, because I fear God. And because I fear God, I'm not gonna let anything come in between my relationship with God. So one guy was for a month. He took me out a couple of times, and that went south. He quoted scriptures telling me, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. The second guy said he liked it my spirit. So my thing is, if you like my spirit, and if you're quoting scriptures to me, and you automatically ought to know that I am a woman of God. I am a woman of God. So neither one of them guys I deal with. I talk to them. So I'm now, I have my own place. I'm now just basically waiting on God. I said, okay, God, I'm gonna wait on you. I'm gonna be patient. I'm gonna wait on you. So I've been waiting. And I'm going to continue to wait until God send me the person that he has for me. And once again, I don't feel bad. I'm very, like, when it comes down to loving the Lord, I'm not going to back down. I'm a very firm person. I'm just not going to back down. I'm going to continue to do what God says to do. And that is to wait on my husband, and to the person that he has prepared and has had even before the foundation of the world for me. And I'm gonna wait. So I'm really, really enjoying this conversation about it. It's good to know that there are so many other women out there that are practicing celibate. And this last thing that I will say is that if a lot of women will keep their legs closed and allow these men to work for them, and allow these women to work for them, then they would not, for women like myself and women like you all out there, a man would not have no choice but to commit. So that would be the last thing I would say.
All right, well, thank you, Miss Miriam. I appreciate that. It had the double M's on it. Oh, Tiana, I haven't seen you in a minute. So also, just real quick, Cardo has something that he put up in there talking about, well, what if you do if you get into a relationship and then you actually do have sexual problems, once you actually are married. So what do you think of, what do you guys think about that? About having sexual problems, you both waited, now you got married. So what do you think about that? But I'm gonna let Tiana go. So go ahead, ma'am, teach us something.
Day. So, I normally don't actually speak in these things, but I felt like this topic and the last one kind of bridged together for me. So, at the risk of telling all my business, I've been abstinent for about 3 years now. And what I've noticed is by abstaining from sex, I have been making better choices in the men that I'm choosing to entertain and for the amount of time that I do entertain them. So long story short, I really had like an experience with God about 3 years ago and was convicted to wait until marriage. And I've noticed that like my previous relationship, I was in a long-term relationship where I was the breadwinner. And I think that came from making the decision early on to be sexually active, and really was just going off of insecurities and wanting to have that type of relationship. But now that that sex is off the table until marriage, for me, I've been able to think clearly and just really see these men for who they are and see their true character and whether or not they are able to be a partner in purpose for me. So for me, that kind of bridged the two topics together. So that's why I actually.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Janine, come on, what you got to say?
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say, this is a topic that is very, I think it's a topic that needs to be discussed. And from my opinion, I think that if we want to have marriages, families, and relationships that are different from the world, then we have to be willing to do things God's way. And no, that's not always the easy thing to do, but it is the right thing to do. And I just think that when we do things God's way, God honors that. And I know for me, I've been celibate for about 8 years. And it's because I made a decision and I made a vow to God that I was going to keep myself pure, and that I was going to work on and allow God to work on me. And when I do meet the right person and we have this conversation, that the man that God has for me is going to honor my decision, and he's going to honor God. And I just really do. I think that in this generation, this culture, the church, the body of Christ, need to be more mindful that we are the influence and that we're not to be influenced by the world. And to do things God's way is always worth the wait.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. But as I go to the next,
I would like to just say one thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was listening to all the different stories. So I've served in the ministry and back in Chicago for years, heard so many different stories. I myself was celibate almost all of my 20s to my 31s, waiting for this amazing man of God. The stories I've heard were, we got married, we waited. There's still 50% of divorces in the church. I think that there's this pedestal about sex, like, oh, you put it on this pedestal and then you get married. And if you choose to take it away, you can't. I totally believe in purity and holiness and all of that. God is holy, so you have to be holy. But I think I just heard a podcast, Dear Future Wifey, about two Christian couples. He got married, they waited 18 months. On their wedding night and their honeymoon, he has sex with her, turns around and says, you finish off on yourself. He was supposed to be a godly man, went to church every day, even walked to church. And she was a prophetess and she was crying her eyes off. She never wanted kids. And that struck a chord with me because now he's divorcing her. He turned around after 12 years and said, I never loved you. So it's like, where do you now put that? And again, I've met pastors while I was waiting. I men that were single, and they looked at me like two-sided because I wanted to wait. And these were men in the church. So my experience is completely different. They were willing to have sex on the down low. They did not care what you were, how holy you were, what ministry you were in. So it was really, I feel a little bit different about that. I've heard stories where they get married and the man is like, she's a fish in the bed, I want to divorce her. And everybody in the church knew their business. So it's a little, for me, it's like, if that was always the protection, then marriages in the church wouldn't be at the divorce rate that they are, in my honest opinion.
No, I mean, that's good. I really appreciate that. And I mean, I know, like I said, you might be a little bit newer to CSC. And one of the things that we do talk about in CSC all the time, and again, for all the new people, and this is not me advocating anything or telling you about your sex life, but one of the things that I have learned is whether you have sex before marriage or whether you do not have sex before marriage, that does not really mean much of anything. It's just like if you get in a relationship, if you have sex with a guy or you don't have sex with a guy, that really does not change whether or not he is going to wife you up. Okay, it is all about who you are. There are so many first ladies in churches that basically the pastor was all up in that, before they ever got married. And he still married them. And that's one of the main reasons why CSC exists, because what we don't want to do is we do not want to hide behind abstinence. Because if you are not a quality woman, a man is not going to marry you. That is just what it is. It doesn't matter if you're abstinent or not. And one of the things that I did want to say to the one lady, and this is something that I just want to make sure I made clear. If you are in a relationship, ladies, okay, and it goes beyond 2 years, especially if it goes beyond 2 years. And honestly, if you're over 35, it shouldn't even go beyond 18 months. And he has not gotten down on his knee, then he don't want you. Okay, I don't care if you're having sex with him. I don't care if you're not having sex with him. He does not want you. That is your point to move on. Okay, I'm just letting you know that is your point to move on, because a guy that wants you is going to put a ring on it because he wants to lock you in. Okay, but what most men do, and I'm just being real with you, okay, I'm trying to put your ladies up on some game, is that guys will get with a woman that they consider to be a placeholder. You are cute enough. You are nice enough. You are fun enough. And they will hang out with you. They'll have sex with you. They will live in your house. And meanwhile, one day you're going to find him cheating on you. And then you're going to get mad and you're going to say, oh, well, I got to get out of this relationship because he's cheating on me. And then you're going to turn around and within, somebody needs to mute. The baby is over there. Okay, I'm going to mute you. So then what happens is, like I say, he gets into this cheating thing. You find him cheating. And then you're mad at him and you think, oh, I'm being a super strong woman, so I'm going to break up with him and I'm going to move on. And then 2 years later, either through your friends, through social media, or through you seeing him on the street, you find out he married that chick and she's pregnant with a baby, if not a baby already in her hands. And the reason why was because he never wanted you in the first place. He was just using you. And I can tell you so many women that showed up in this group. They have dated men for 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years. Okay? You do not do that. You do not do that. 18 months. And honestly, ladies, y'all really should be making those decisions to kick it with him like that within 6 months. You should see whether or not he's trying to do for you in that little bit of time. Because if he has not shown himself to be a leader in that time, you need to leave him. And I know many of y'all afraid to be lonely, okay, and all this other kinds of, well, it's hard out here. It's hard out here. You have to learn how to pick good men, because there's good men everywhere. But you got to learn how to pick them, okay? And you got to learn the character of a good man, not necessarily how fine he is, how well he dresses, how much money he got. You got to understand to find the character of a man. Just like I know Mr. Kenneth has that character of a man because he is ready to talk about it. Go ahead, sir.
Bro, like y'all done stole all my points. I forgot my hand was raised. Between you and Catherine, you guys have really hit it on the head. Like we've made sex such a stipulation. And I seen in the comments, somebody said if the sex is whack, I'm asking for a divorce. I didn't know if it was serious or if it was a joke, but that contradicts the point of waiting. Like, okay, I waited for this man, waited for this woman, sex was whack, now I'm going to get rid of this person. But you already gave your body to him. So it's like, it's a whole contradiction. So, but I think we need to take the stipulation of sex off the table. And as a caveat for longevity with the person, like it's not going to make your relationship, but it's up to you if you allow it to break it. I think it's kind of weird. I know we all want to be holy. I understand that. I definitely do. But that's not reality out here. And y'all know it. How many virgins y'all know stayed a virgin to marriage? Probably can count on one hand. It's not reality. So you just got like my man said, you got to learn how to discern that man, discern that woman. I'm done speaking.
Cool. I'm gonna say something real quick to that point too. And again, I'm hoping this gets some more hands raised. We got about 25 more minutes in this conversation. But I knew a young lady, okay? She had been abstinent for 2 years. She had talked about being abstinent until she got married. She met a guy that she liked. She saw her future with that dude. And basically, it was less than 2 months when she gave up the booty. Okay, because she got caught up in the emotions, she got caught up in all the other kind of stuff. And let's be real, she had had sex before. So now all that's open. So I'm not against, abstinence. Y'all know that. Y'all been hanging out in this group, but I want y'all to be honest about some of these feelings that y'all are having, because I also want you guys to talk about, okay, so if you're going to be abstinent, okay, how do you date while abstinent? How do you date and keep yourself? Because think about it, as a grown person, you might go out to a restaurant one time, you might go to a park one time, but as it gets cold, we get into the cold time, or it's really, really hot in the summer, where you gonna go? Are you not gonna end up in somebody's house watching TV? You end up in their house watching TV, watching a movie, and then next thing you know, y'all cuddling, next thing you know, y'all kissing, next thing you know, nobody is in that house to stop you. So you want to keep yourself, you like this guy, you're comfortable with this guy. How do you date and then stay abstinent? So that's something else for you guys to talk about. Come on, Rochelle.
Yeah, that's actually crazy, because that's actually what I wanted to touch on. Because for me, I absolutely believe in abstinence, but I would never say I am going to wait until marriage, because abstinence is a day-to-day thing that I have to ask God's strength for, right? So I'm not trying to be unrealistic and say people are not having sex out here, but for me, that is the rule for me, and I'm praying for strength about that, with the person. As for how you date, that's what I was going to talk about and say, that's difficult, because, with someone who says they'll wait with you, that wouldn't work for me. If I have somebody who's not a Christian and he goes, yeah, I'll be abstinent for you, well, then that means I'm the backstop. We're not gonna make it, but then if it's, with a Christian who says he's trying, we're trying together, something could happen, because we put no confidence in the flesh, but we know the Bible says what it says. And frankly, I feel like when we talk about these stories about, well, this person was abstinent and then they got married and then this bad thing happened, I think it's a fundamental misunderstanding of what Christianity is. We're not here to be happy. We're here to be holy. We are here to expand God's kingdom. We are here to give God glory. So if you get married and day 2, your husband is paralyzed, or if he's, incontinent, I was gonna say incontinent, if he's, if he can't perform sexually, or even vice versa, your wife gets in an accident, loses all her libido, etc. These things happen. Or if you have a child and a child has special needs, etc. So we're not doing it to put a down payment on a good life after marriage. You're doing it because you are joining with this person because you feel like God has put you together and you're in this union, and sex is one part of that. So to say that, I want to have sex before marriage because some terrible experience might happen on the other end that I'm not prepared for, means you misunderstand your place as a child of God, and you misunderstand marriage.
No, that was good. That was good. Come on, Miss Sherry.
Yes, I think for this one here, when I believe it was Kenneth mentioned that we have to consider reality. I think the reality is, if a woman has no intentions of having sex with a man, if she wants to be married, just as Jay mentioned, if that is your intention, if you tell a man, no, that's not what your interest is, He should be interested in getting to know you. He should be interested in forming a relationship, a connection with you, and determining if that actually works. You know, the reality is TV. Reality is what everyone else is doing. Reality is what is it that your intentions are, and what is it that you want to do. So if you allow yourself to be pressured by a man wanting to have sex with you and deciding that, well, if this isn't where he wants to be, you're not having sex with him, he's going to move on. I think you should let the man move on so that you can move on to someone who is going to give you what you want. Because at the end of the day, if you have sex with someone who has no intentions of marrying you, you're not going to get what you want at the end of the day. So I don't think, you know, you should be pressured by anyone because they feel that you should be having sex with them in this relationship. And that's not your intentions. If your intentions are to be married, yes, of course not to go along in a relationship for years, months. If a man tells you up front he's not interested in marriage, I don't think you should consider remaining in that relationship if you know he's already told you that's not what he wants. You should hear what a person say and follow that and move on with your life, because at the end of the day, you may end up wasting your time.
No, that's true too. I mean, you got to make sure that y'all on the same boat, no matter what it is that you do. Come on, Miss Rashonda, you up. You can't text and talk. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No, this is the most I've ever talked, I believe, in one of these meetings. But you know, going back to your question, you know, how do you date if you want to, you know, stay abstinent? I don't know. For me, one of the things that, you know, if I'm talking to somebody and the conversation naturally come up, you know, I'll make mention, hey, you know what? I'm not in a rush to get there. You know, I also have certain boundaries. Like you can't come to my house because you know me, right? And I know what my love language is, you know, physical touch and like that. For example, I don't kiss. I don't kiss because one, you could be dating 5 other women, right? And we're just talking, hanging out, trying to get to know one another. I don't need that intimacy like that. When, you know, so open, I could be seeing other people as well. So I just have like certain boundaries in place. But I do feel like, you know, we should all be adults and have the mature conversation about realistic expectations and what you require in a sexual relationship and what I'm looking for. So for example, if somebody says, hey, I'm really into threesomes, I know right then I'm going to go ahead and leave. There's no point of us trying to see where this is going because I'm not interested in something like that. Also too, asking somebody STD status, that's enough to knock a lot of people out in Atlanta, you know, and again, but just having that open, honest conversation. Yeah, so.
No, that's true. And I do say that if y'all gonna have sex, y'all better ask. Y'all better ask and let y'all know it's a felony, I think, if they lie about their STD status.
So, in fact, don't get tested together.
Yeah, that's something you can do too. That might be a way to, the reason to do Steve Harvey's wait 90 days so y'all can go get tested together. Come on, Janine.
Yeah, so I just wanted to answer the question as well. So I think what the lady who was just speaking made reference to, just about boundaries, being very clear and intentional about your boundaries, is definitely a way to kind of protect yourself or put some parameters around yourself. Also being intentional, you know, when I go out on dates, I'm not wearing nothing with my cleavage out or a whole bunch of skin show, because I'm not trying, I know men are visual. I'm not trying to arouse that. I'm trying to get to know you. I'm trying to see if I even like you, and vice versa, if we can even be a thing. So I think that another big part is accountability, you know, having somebody to be accountable to, having wise counsel, and really not trying to just, you know, not trying to, you know, do your own thing. Like if you want to have sex, you're going to have sex. But if you have accountability, you know, somebody's checking in on you and, or, you know, asking you about, you know, how did they go, different things like that, then you may be more inclined to make different decisions. So I think those things are important: accountability, boundaries, and just being intentional of really getting to know somebody and not focusing so much on whether I want to have sex with this person or not. Like, that should be I'm just speaking for myself. That's the farthest thing from my mind when I go on a date with.
Cool. Thank you. I did want to go ahead and pose this last question as we're going through. So say, for instance, if you guys do go out there and you make a mistake and you have sex, the first question is, and this is kind of like a two-parter, do you roll it back? Then how do you roll it back? So if you make this mistake, you really like the guy, is it that you give up on the guy? Do you roll it back? Or do you, you know, just say, hey, we just keep it rolling? Just being real, you know, real quick. So that'll be the last question, but we're gonna continue with what we got right now. So Miss Miriam, you're gonna have to unmute. I keep muting you because you got the baby with you. So there you go. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, y'all hear my grandbaby in the back. It's my grandbaby. I'm sorry about that. I apologize. But anyway, I wanted to touch bases on for us the sex before marriage. When you're going out with a guy, how do you sustain from that? How do you protect yourself? Pretty much the boundaries, it goes back to the boundaries. Two people have to pretty much agree on waiting to have sex before marriage. So me personally, I don't want to put myself in a predicament to have sex until I get married, versus meaning like the man cannot come to my house, or if he do come, we would have to stay outside. Everything has to be in the open. Everything would have to be in the open. There would not be any touching, no kissing, or any sort of any of that. Because I'm collecting data from him. I'm anywhere between 3 to 6 month period. I'm collecting data. So that would be one of the things that I would enforce. Because I am practicing, you know, the sex before I get married. He can, if he comes to my house, because I am strong enough. I mean, I'm not gonna put confidence in myself, because like I say, we as females, we can get weak. We have emotions, but I would make sure I put that out there if I do allow him to come to my house, maybe to pick me up or anything like that, going on a date. No touching, you know, of any sort, no kissing of any sort. So it will be completely social distancing. And like I say, what my clothes, for as the clothes go, I would not put myself in a predicament to show him my upper part, my breasts, or anything like that. Because men do get, when they see things like that, you know, your body being uncovered, you know, you guys, men do get excited. But for the most part, just the boundaries, just not putting myself in that predicament and making sure that the person that I'm with is in the same alignment with me.
Okay, that's what's up. That's what's up. Thank you so much for that. I'm gonna
Can I rebuttal that?
Can I
rebuttal that?
Yeah, go ahead, Kenneth.
I just want to say, how are you going to appeal to the man then? We are physical beings. We love the way you look. We love the way you smell. We love everything about you physically. So how are you going to fight that? How are you going to keep my attention? That's the reality of it. How are you going to keep my attention? There's 10 other women that are willing to do a lot more than what you're doing. So what are you going to do? You want to stand out? You talking about no kissing, no affection? Stop.
I'm curious, how many dates a year are you going on? How many guys is beating on your door trying to holler at you? How many dudes is really signing up for that? I'm not trying to I'm literally asking because you're blowing my mind with these standards. And hey, kudos to you if you got that and you finding that. I'm just really curious, like, yo, teach me the game, Ghost.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Timmy though, on the whole curves and showing, because I look at like TLC back in the day, and TLC made it a point to wear baggy clothes, and every dude in the world wanted TLC. You know, a woman, if you find, it don't matter what you wear. It don't matter what you wear. You know, I'm gonna have to, you know, kind of roll with that one. But just to say before I go to Julia, the whole thing about rolling it back, Lori was like, it ain't rolling back, you know, at least I'm thinking that's what she said. She was like, don't say Pandora's box is open, it's open. Somebody else said that it's really, really, really hard to roll it back. You know, once it's open, yeah, Kristen, she's like, you know, it's so hard to close that door once that door is open. So just wanted to put that out there for the two, you know, women that did answer that question. For those,
Can I say something? I know the men are focusing on what makes a woman stand out when she's dating a man. What is making the man stand out as well? Because there are, like you said, there are men are willing to sleep with women all the time. So what makes the man stand out that he's going to be different from the average guy and really get to know the woman and really be intentional about dating? Because anybody could act, you know, nice or pleasant for 90 days because men aren't stupid. They know that. They've read the book or they've heard of the book with Steve Harvey saying, make men wait for 90 days. So anybody could be nice for 90 days and then and be the representative until they get the ultimate, which is her having sex and relinquishing her body to him. So I just think that the 90 days, that's not realistic. When guys say, well, yeah, that's the reality, women are doing it, yada, yada, yada. But what makes the man stand out as well? Like, the burden is always on the woman to prove that she is supposed to be picked by this guy, and that she has to somehow, you know, lower her standards or her beliefs or whatever. And I just feel like that, you know, that's crazy, because I think we all should be striving to have somebody who has morals, values, and standards, and how whatever that looks like for you as a person. So I just wanted to put that out there, because 90 days is not a long time. You don't get to know a person after 90 days. And how many of us have dated somebody and then later on regretted dating them? So imagine if you sleep with them, you're going to regret it even more. That's all I have to say.
I mean, I'm gonna let Kenneth answer that before we go to Julia, because I think that's a little hot topic right now. But I will say this too, and you know, Tawana, because you've been hanging out in CSC, while I'm always getting on women about making decisions, about being proactive, about helping to choose which man you want to be with, and not just dating anybody that has the quote unquote social courage to come talk to you. I think that's one of the reasons why you all end up in these situations, because you have, and somebody said it in the chat, you know, you guys have really great guys many times around you, but a lot of times y'all won't pick them, y'all put them in the friend zone. And then I'm gonna be real, and I've said this about CSC before, if you got friends in the friend zone, Tawana, for example, I'm not saying you in general, but I'm just saying, for example, and then let's say Rochelle has friends in the friend zone, why don't y'all swap y'all's friends in the friend zone? You can say, hey, Rochelle, here's my friend that I'm really not into him like that, but he's a good guy. And I think you should talk to him. And we talk about that all the time, because y'all are always like, where the men, where the men, where the men? And I'm like, there's plenty of guys. Okay. But I also kind of feel, and this is just my belief, and then like I said, I'm gonna let Kenneth, you know, respond to itself, but it's my belief that sometimes women put these men in the friend zone, and then y'all are kind of like with a one hand pushing them behind you, like, this is my man. If my life don't go right, I can use him in 3 or 5 years, I'll marry him and everything gonna be all right. So you don't want to release him. And I'm not saying that's you, Tawana. I'm just saying I'm putting it out there.
Absolutely not. I don't have any guy friends that are like that. If I met a guy that was decent morals, values, Christian, all of that, then I would not put him in the friend zone. Believe that.
Okay, well, I'm gonna let Kenneth speak to it, and then we're gonna go to Julia. So go ahead, Kenneth.
For what appeals to you, that's all on the person. So in other words, like you create what appeals to you. So on a date, for me, I'm just being myself. In my mind, I'm not impressing you with nothing. My life is my life. I'm 40 years old. This is what I do with my career. This is what I do with how much money I earn. This is how many children I have. My life is my life. If you find anything within me, my personality, anything appealing, and I get that call, let's go on a second date, third date, great. If not, great. I ain't got time to impress you. Now, the whole ordeal with the sex is I totally get it. I'm on board with y'all, right? We ought to abstain from it the best we can. But the dynamic between the two people that's exactly what it is between you and me, our connection. If we fall together. If we don't, if we succeed, we succeed together, right? That's what it comes down to. It is us, right? But this whole ordeal with no affection, dressing different, doing all this just not to appeal to me, right? What is that? That's a bit
I don't
much.
agree with you.
You don't need to not show no cleavage or nothing for me not to see what you're working with. Like, you don't need to do all that, right? So you don't have to have sex with me to appeal to me. But what I really want you to do is to be your darn self, is allow your personality, everything about you flourish, instead of you abstaining because you're changing who you are even before we go on the date. It's too much. I'm done speaking.
No, I appreciate it, Kenneth. And I know that, like I said, a lot of people have that thing about dating folks that change. Like I say, I don't change. I don't understand it. I also think sometimes, ladies, you're picking guys that change instead of picking a man that just stands on it. But again, that's a whole nother conversation. And Julia has been waiting patiently for a very long time, and I have been rude. And I'm very sorry, Miss Julia. So come, please educate us.
You are fine. I appreciate you allowing Kenneth to go before me. That was a whole word that he gave. But my comment is, I just wanted to share from a female perspective. I mean, I've respected everyone's sharing their stories. I don't shy away from trying to abstain. I am a sexual being. I appreciate that, and individuals that I've dated, that is a topic of discussion, and I don't shy away. And he is my ex-husband. We didn't divorce because of sex issues. It was definitely other issues, but we in dating, we had sex. We had a sexual relationship. I think that, I wasn't less than holy. I was still very active in ministry. He also was active in ministry, but we had a healthy sexual relationship and we married. And so I think that sometimes we as Christian beings, we set ourselves up. We allow the enemy to battle us in our mind and spirits if we fall in a particular area. But I think that we have to be wise. We have to acknowledge who we are. I agree with some statements that Kenneth said, because you are changing yourself. And that's why I started with the statement that I am a sexual being. I know that I enjoy flossing in my feminism. I like showing my shape. I like being that I don't want a man to date a man. I'm a woman. I want you to want to date me, so I enjoy that. And I think it's okay. I think we do have to use wisdom. I've dated individuals and was like, we're not going no further till we get tested. You don't want to get tested? We can be friends, so I think that we can operate in wisdom and also still be loving and godly at the same time. So that's my word.
Okay, Rochelle, you done gave up your question, your comment?
Because I don't want it to become like a debate, because my comments are literally the opposite of the beautiful woman who spoke before me.
It's okay. It's okay. We're here to get information. This is gonna go out on the internet, and it's for people to think about. One of the problems with YouTube is, and really people, is we're always thinking about one side of the coin. always one side of the coin. We need to see both sides of the coin so people can make up their mind, see the information, and then make their decision. So it's always good to see both sides. You're not against Julia, I'm not against Tawana or Sherry or Tiana or anybody. Nobody's here against anybody. We're all here in love, trying to help each other out in order to learn and grow. So please give us your beliefs.
Yeah, so I just wanted to comment on for two quick things. First, on how women dress and how they present themselves to a guy if they are abstinent. I have to say that for me, growing up, I've just always tended towards dressing in a bit more of a conservative way, stylish but conservative. That's just always been my taste. And I lived in New York City up until last year. And there was so many times where men would stop me on the street and say, I just want to say, you look so sophisticated, or you look really beautiful or classy or something like that. So this idea that if you're not showing cleavage, then you're not being appealing to men, completely the opposite of my experience. And I've had men in my life year over year over year who have liked me. I let them know it's just not, the feeling's not mutual. And they've stuck around year over year over year. We have not kissed, we didn't have sex, we didn't do anything. So I just really want to present that opposite picture to say men are very different. They appreciate different things. And even if we say we're going to put boundaries on ourselves because we put no confidence in our flesh, again, some men actually find that attractive, especially if they're looking to be holy. So there's some men that will be turned off from that. That's not your guy. And then there's some men that's going to be like, I respect him. When I get married, I know I can put trust in my wife because when we were dating, she was not having that. The second thing I want to say about I forgot the term you used, do you roll with them again? If you fell during your courtship and that wasn't the intention, I think that we have to remember that the Christian walk is not about perfection. It's, are you repentant? Were there innocent ways that you kind of fell into it? And then that's about, like somebody said, about your accountability structure. Because if you look at the opposite, it's like, if you fell with a guy, does that mean you break up and then you get with another person, start a godly courtship, and then you break up because you fell? So is it necessarily God's will that you sleep with 5 more people if you fell? You know what I mean? So I think he could still redeem that relationship if you come before the pastor and say, we had every intention, we did this, we made a mistake, somebody's car broke down, she spent the night, we ended up having sex, but and then we move forward, then I think that's a different situation than we just continued every night, for 3 months, and then we woke up like, oh yeah, I feel guilty. Well, then I think both people need to question their walk and maybe step back. But it's all about who knows you as a couple and who's been walking with you and who can speak into whether you guys continue or not, because Paul talks about, marrying or burning. So sometimes the right thing is, you all been together too long, it's time to get married. So that's just my take on those two.
No, and I'm gonna agree with that because that is the core of CSC. We're like, hey, if y'all gonna do it, fine. I'm not gonna argue with y'all. I'm not gonna fight with y'all, whether y'all are abstinent or you are doing it. My thing is, let's get you married so you won't burn, because if you have the qualifications and you have the understanding of what you need to actually be married, then you can be married. So even if you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna have sex, I'm gonna do what I gotta do, and blah, 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 I love this pleasure, fine, whatever, cool. I'm not gonna argue with you, I'm not gonna kick you out of CSC. But the bottom line is, if you're not getting married, if you're running into 3 and 4 really great guys and they're not putting a ring on it, trust me, boo, it's you. It's not them. And so we need to change things. And that's why at CSC, we do so much to talk about character, personality, what do men want, what do women want. You see men in this group, you see women in this group. So whatever we talk about, we kind of have to balance it between both to get both sides to, at the same table. I just want to say that again for all the new people that don't really know that much about CSC and they're coming out for the first time, because that's what we're about, getting you married, getting you down that path. and trying to, make sure that, that's the line that you're going after. So we're going to take it through Miss Dewana. I'm going to go Ron next, then Regine, who's on the iPhone, and then we're going to go to Dewana, and then that's going to be it for tonight. I just want to let everybody know that. So please, no more hands up. So come on, Mr. Ron.
Okay. Thanks again. I just wanted to say one thing. Listening from the different requirements and standards tonight, it just lets you know that there's so many options out there and configurations in terms of what people are looking for. And I say this to everyone, and I also say it to myself: don't settle. What I mean by that is, if you know you're looking for somebody who's going to respect you and not want to have sex with you and wait till marriage, hold out for that. It's not easy, but it's possible. You could do that. There, what, 7-8 billion people in the world, somewhere around there? There's somebody out there for you. Don't take somebody just because they come up and say the right thing, or she's shaped like this, or, he's flashing money. Don't settle. Know your standards. Know what you're willing to negotiate on, and know what is non-negotiable. You will eventually get that person as long as you put your faith in God first and foremost and lean on him and not your own understanding. He will bring that person in your life, but definitely stay on your standards, stand on what you're looking for, and that person will come through for you. Because settling, I'm telling you, the price to settle is a high one to pay. That's all I want to say. And thanks for the show tonight.
Oh man, that's what's up right there, boy. He dropped the mic on that one. So come on, Regine.
Hey, I missed a lot of the discussion, but I did want to talk about some of the things that I did hear. I do believe that abstinence, I don't believe that abstinence will result necessarily in marriage, or you will be blessed with marriage because of that. In fact, in today's culture, I think it might actually be the reverse. I know many non-believers or people who are just very secular and who have sex on the first, second date, and they are married now. So I do believe that it probably has the opposite effect. But if we are calling ourselves Christian, we can follow culture and I guess our reward, our earthly reward is the marriage. But we're supposed to be the salt of the earth. I know I'm going to sound very legalistic, but we're supposed to be the salt of the earth. We're supposed to be a peculiar people. It's not about what you're getting right now. And also, I would also add that the loosening of sexual morality is part of the decline of marriage. My brother has a live-in girlfriend. They have a baby together. They have no interest in getting married because of the loosening of sexual morality. So yes, he's committed. They're together, but no interest in marriage because he's like, oh, that's childish thing. So he has no time for that. And furthermore, I would also say, at least for me, I think dating, it can be fairly easy to meet people who want to date and probably will sleep with me and be committed and things like that. But as somebody said, if there are 10 other people who will do something else, then yeah, they will be distracted and choose maybe that 10 other people who would do something else. And sometimes they come back and it's like, well, no, but my expectation is I will meet you in a public place. And then it's like, well, we kind of we're at a standstill, but it's like, if we just kind of waffle and it's like, okay, well, we just follow culture, then we might as well just call ourselves just regular people. And also, as for the modesty thing, I will say that I follow culture a lot, maybe on that. So I would not necessarily say that I should be the person to preach modesty. But if we are, again, looking at the Bible, there are countless verses on modesty. It should definitely not be discouraged because you're not supposed to be judged just by your beauty. And yeah, there are just countless verses on modesty. And I do think it's something to try to aspire towards, that you do try to cover up, dress classily, and that type of thing. Because I don't think the ultimate goal is just to get married, because you can get married. I mean, I meet people who talk to me about let's get married and have babies and this and that. And I'm like, or just have babies. But the point is, do we have anything in common? Do we have like the same character traits? So, I mean, I just think that's important. So I know it sounds a little bit legalistic, but I just felt I had to share that.
No, I mean, that's good. I love it. And thank you for coming out, Regine. As always, it's fun. Before I go to Dewana, I just wanted to say real quick, because somebody said something that almost sounded like might have been to me. And it was just saying, thanks for the message. It is opposite of the idea that you are the problem. If 3 guys date you and you don't put a ring on it, they could be walking away because you refuse sex, which doesn't make you a bad person. And I'm agreeing with that, but what the statement that I made was that if you're in these relationships, if you're having sex with these guys, if you are doing all these things and they still walk away, and they're, you're having sex, you're having this little family life before you have it. 9 times out of 10, if a guy walks away, if one guy walks away, it's like, okay, that was just maybe a bad guy, maybe he didn't like you, blah, 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 blah. If it keeps repeating, generally speaking, you're either picking very bad guys or there could be something going on with you. And we have to take self-accountability. We have to be accountable for self. And a lot of times, unfortunately, especially out in the actually not even in YouTube space anymore, but for the last 20 years, a lot of information has been going down to try to make it as though women do not make mistakes. And that is one of the issues. Now, men make mistakes. We recognize we make a lot of mistakes, but a lot of women are thinking, oh, every guy out here is bad. Well, then again, the first question is, why are you picking the bad guys? Because if there's at least 5 men on this call that are good and you're not picking them, but you're picking all those other ones, again, why are you picking them? And then if you are picking good guys and you're in front of them and then they keep leaving you, then again, we have to say, why are they leaving us? And a lot of times we don't want to do that. We don't want to look in the mirror and say, it could be me. But the one thing that is true about all your relationships is that you was in them. Okay, so you have to look at yourself. And, we talk about the things that women are looking for. We talk about the things that men are looking for. And a lot of women, a lot of times are like, I don't want to do the things that men are looking for. And I got guys in this group that are like, I don't want to do the things that women are looking for. Okay, it is guys in this group that will up and down say that. And I'm constantly telling everybody, it is like basically hitting a brick wall. You think you're going to make a change because you think you're special, and all it's going to do is keep you alone. And again, the purpose of this group is to get you married. So we're not trying to protect your feelings. We're not trying to lead you down these paths. We're trying to lead you down a path that's actually going to get you somewhere where you say you want to go, even if it hurts. And y'all know we have women presenters in this group. We have men presenters in this group. Okay, we have several ministers in this group. We got normal people in this group. We're open to almost anybody to say something. So it's really important that you understand that our heart is out here to try to help you. We want to bless you. Okay, but anyway, that is my rant. So now we're going to listen to Dewana, and then that'll do it. Go ahead, Dewana. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make a point when we were talking about the modest dressing. So I will say this, I'm a rather shapely woman, and I did online dating a couple of years back, and all of my pictures would always be top pictures. And guys would always ask me, well, why don't you ever show body photos? And I know men are visual, but I felt like the guys that I wanted to meet, I didn't want you to meet me based on what you see. I wanted you to see my beauty and then kind of get to know me. And then as we meet, you can see the rest of me. I didn't want to flaunt myself online that way. But what I noticed is that when I dress modest, guys still approach me when I'm out in the street. And then when I dress a little risque, of course, I get approached from different type of guys. So then I had to start looking at how I dress because I know what kind of man I want. And I don't want a man to approach me that is ultimately just trying to sleep with me day one. I want a man to approach me that really wants to get to know me and then find out what kind of person I have, what kind of character I have, what kind of heart I have. And then in the event that that end up happening later down the line, so be it. But I also had to change my thinking because I got to the point where I realized that I didn't want to be sexing guys. I wanted a guy to really get to know me. And then later we get to the point that we're possibly married and then we go from there. No baggy clothes though. I really can't wear baggy clothes. Nothing really fits baggy.
No, I mean,
But that's my point.
I mean, I get your point, but I think, like I say, men are going to go after the type of women that they want. I think it's not any clothes you can do that's going to stop that. You know, we look at things overseas and women have on hijabs or whatever. I might be saying it wrong. And they still, you know, can get men, you know, and it's kind of funny because I had a friend of my, you know, my ex-wife, and she was one of those people. She wore baggy clothes all the time, and she never showed really any part of her body besides her hands and her face. That was it. That's all you ever saw. And one day she walked out, I kid you not, she walked out and she had on some sandals, and I had never seen her feet before. And she actually had nice feet. And I'm just sitting there staring at her feet. And I'm like, just looking at her feet. And then she's kind of all embarrassed now because, you know, I'm looking at her feet. And it's so funny because that's how guys are. You know, we'll find whatever you got that's cute and we're going to check it out. You know what I'm saying? So that's just how men are. So I don't think necessarily that, you know, whatever you do is going to be on you. That is your own conviction to it. But at the same time, you know, hey, men like women. And as long as men like women, then we're going to find something to like. But anyway, I thank you all for coming out